the biggest problem that I've found, and one of the reasons why I've had a setback, it took us about 6 weeks to figure it out, is just because I was making money, that doesn't mean you should just size up. Just because you're having like a 20K or a 15K month, that doesn't give you an automatic permission to size up. Like, everyone has a level where it's easy-ish to cut the losses. Everyone has a level where it's not too difficult to stick to a plan. Like for me, my figures, like, I can cut a $200, $300 loss. I can cut them all day, but I cannot cut a $600, $700, $800 loss. I can't.
Welcome back to the SteadyTrade podcast, everyone. I am Tim Bohen, back with Kim and Steven. I think we've got one of the most important topics that I think that, it's funny, I think gets overlooked so much. And you'll hear me talk about this a lot. I mean, listen, a lot of you probably come to trading for the same reason. And listen, I came to it for that same reason as well. You always think about the profits, okay? I always like, maybe if we had a CGI department, I could put like those. I need like those $ glasses. Somebody sent me some Preparation H from Amazon. Somebody has sent me some cargo shorts from Amazon. Somebody sent me some quadruple XL Chinese-made T-shirt from it, because I don't know who got my address, but if whoever out there that sent me the Preparation H has my address, send me the $ sunglasses. I would appreciate a pair. But that being said, a lot of us, probably all of us, come to the markets, come to trading because we see the $, we see the profits. But quite quickly, if you don't realize that, you got to think about the money you can lose, because nobody has 100% win rate. I mean, hell, in day trading, I mean, when we're talking specifically day trading, if you're over 50%, you can be very profitable. But you got to minimize your risk. You got to keep your losses small. Always that number one rule. So today we're going to talk about risk management, what it is, obviously why you should care. And then thanks to Steven, Steven did some preparation, did some research, and we're going to talk about different systems, whether those be mental stops, whether those be hard stops with your broker. I think he's going to talk a little bit about, some of the... Sorry, Siri, leave me alone. He's going to talk about, some brokers will actually support like a max stop loss. So where a lot of what I teach and what I talk about is based on the chart and based on price levels. You can actually, if you're struggling with your discipline, you can just set a dollar amount at your broker, whether that be $100, $500, what it is, and they just take you out. Now, I've got a lot of opinions on that. I think that is like, I would never say it's cheating, but I think it's like, I don't know. I think you should be able, if you're going to be successful over time, you should be able to stop on your own. You shouldn't have to have daddy slap your hand and put you in the corner. But that being said, let's talk about risk management. Kim and Steven, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having is in me or is in us, as in we, could be either. But no, like, I wanted to touch on the various different methods of risk management, because it's a very underrated, under-discussed topic. But yeah, and there's a lot of different facets and different ways to approach it. So you can take a multi-pronged approach. So it can be like, in terms of education, we know that there's a lot of authors, there's a lot of books out there, like the Daily Trading Coach. There's a bunch of like quite well-known books. I should be able to quote them, but I don't, because I haven't read them, because my risk management sucks. But there's also
at least you started the audio book of some of them. Hey, you got like 20 minutes into the audio book. Why, better than nothing.
No, but there's ways to educate yourself on the psychology of risk, is what I'm getting at, and you can do that. There's some famous psychologists and authors. There's also manual processes, things like Tim Bohen was always famous for having a risk journal, But every time you made a mistake, you would write what was the mistake, what was the setup, what was I thinking, what was the end result, what was the outcome, what's the action, what's the kind of responsibility or punishment I'm going to implement. And then the other thing is manual processes such as stops. But one of the interesting things on, and I saw this from a Modern Rock. Do you know BAM? Modern Rock?
Bow. Yep.
Bow. Sorry, BAM. Yep. You'll not like that. Bow. I saw a video from Bow, and he was saying, and this is geared towards a lot of people, especially short sellers. There's a lot of consistent traders out there. A lot of consistent traders out there. A lot of consistent short sellers out there. But there's not a lot of consistently profitable short sellers. There might be some consistent traders, but they're not consistently profitable because they all will give back a massive loss on one day. And hey,
I've been there too, man. I've been there too.
We've all done it. Just takes one massive loss, and you can trade like never going down more than 300, making 900 a day. You've always got that 2 to 3 to 1 risk reward. Every now and then you'll slip, you'll go down 1,000, but you'll come back and you'll make 600, for example. But then one day something goes wrong. You can't predict it. You can't cut the loss. You're down 1, 3, 5, and then you just can't cut it. Now, what I just wanted to say, without naming any particular brokers, but there are broker intervention methods out there. Brokers where you can actually cap your max size. So if you've got a 30 grand account because you want a big broker with big broker privileges, you can have a 30 grand account, but you don't have to use the full 30K. Right. If you think that you can't handle it, you can, for example, for mine, my max size right now is capped at $5,000 per trade. I can't. So do you know how I have a problem? Add. I physically can't add. Right, it take me 5,000 and I'm done. I can't add anymore. I get a yellow warning on the computer saying you're at your max size. And
just for some context, real quick, for king of interruptions, but I think this is useful. Keep in mind, a lot of you might be like, well, why have that money in your account if you don't use it? And just remember, we're leaning towards, at this point, short selling, which, remember, you have to have a more margin account to short, which means the PDT is applicable. So if you're one of those cash account traders, hey, which is awesome, that might be a little confusing you. When we're talking specifically what Steven's about right now is shorting, and to be able to trade more than those 3 times in a rolling 5-day period, you have to be over that $25,000 amount, which again, I will quote Ronald Reagan for the 10,000th time. The 9 most dangerous words in history are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." The PDT rule is the dumbest rule quite possibly ever invented, other than during that episode of Simpsons when it was illegal to bet on squirrels fighting in your pants. But the PDT is a close second to that.
Yeah, so I'll just finish what I was saying because I don't know how to pick up on the squirrel page. But
it's a hard act to follow the squirrels in the pants.
But just to quickly lay out some of the potential broker interventions that you can have a max size per trade limit. You can have a max loss. So if you're unrealized and realized down a certain amount of money, you can be barred from taking any further trades for the rest of that day. And you can have an auto liquidate function with specific, but not all brokers. You can have an auto liquidate. So when you hit a certain amount, you took out for that day. A lot of brokers, it's very easy to just send them a message and be like, take it off. I want to do it again. Yeah. Certain specific brokers, you can actually say that they'll say to you, if you take it off intraday, you're banned from ever putting it back on again. So just to let people know, and I know Tim's anti against it, and he's like, you should be able to cut your losses. Well, I can't. I'm a maniac. I'm outrageous. I'm a free-flowing bird. I love to fly around, and sometimes I get out of control.
So I want Kim's input, but I just want to make the point. Well. It's like, and listen, okay, I know I got like issues with this type of stuff, but it's like locking the cookies in the cabinet and like giving the key to you should be able to just not eat the cookies. Okay, it's a cookie. You should be able to not eat the cookie. You shouldn't have to lock it in the cabinet and like give the key to your wife or your roommate
Tim,
or something.
You know short selling, like it's honestly, I don't care if this comes across as me being a dick. Being long's easy to have discipline. It's easy. It's dead easy. If your plan doesn't work, you just get out. If you're short,
especially
it's
penny,
not that
that's
easy
what I love about
can come down.
Especially in penny stocks, because we all know what these penny stocks are. You know, that's why, again, I lean towards newbie trade. I'm like, listen, this is you'll hear me say it a million times in pre-market prep. I'm like, this is the worst stock in the world. You know, and yeah, I think it is easier to stop because at the end of the day, you're like, okay, this is some Chinese OTC pink sheet that says they cured cancer and invented a flying car or something. It's like you just know that you have to stop. So anyway,
so anyway, what I think is a good approach is for everyone, because I think there's three over here. So like let's everyone give their best opinion. Ultimately, a multi-pronged approach is the best solution, probably. But everyone give their opinion on how to best manage risk. Mine is broker intervention tools that you can't take off. Like, honestly, you're laughing. Look how fat I am. Do you think I have a problem eating cookies? I clearly have a problem eating cookies. If I could have stopped, I would have stopped. If there was broker intervention for eating cookies, I would have that as well. I'd have cookie intervention. But like, do you know what I mean? That I would have a cookie intervention. Like, I don't have discipline. So mine is broker intervention. It's a godsend. It's a godsend that you can have that. Brian Lee has it. Bow Wow, Modern Rock. I saw a video of him saying he's got it. A lot of top traders have got it. But over to you guys. I'm done. I'm finished.
So Kim, I've obviously put it in 50 times. Kim, you got to go first because so.
So I can see both of your perspectives. And I want to speak to when you talk about materials that support your emotional side of, you know, handling risk. Let's not forget that I do have a course for sale right now with StocksToTrade called the Trading EQ with Kim Ann Curtin. It's 2.5 hours. And it's a really important conversation about risk management and how you can handle all the emotions that are inevitable. And I think the key here is, especially for new traders, it is going to be shocking to you how incredibly triggered you become when you start out. And if you don't appreciate, you know, people who are not that self-aware have a tendency to think they'll be cool as a cucumber. And the key is that you're not hardwired to be cool as a cucumber, which is the only reason why mankind is at the top of the food chain, because we learned how to get away from danger very quickly when we were living in the wild. But what happens today is the biology of how we're built responds as though danger in any form looks like a saber-toothed tiger and we're going to die. So there is no distinction, especially at the beginning of your career as a trader, for you to be able to withstand that onslaught. So I am in agreement that putting those stops in place is it's just a no-brainer at the beginning. But I think what Tim is saying is, if you don't eventually work to that discipline of getting to neutral and not being so attached, that I think is the end goal. But if those stops help you move yourself towards neutral, I'm all for them. Whatever it takes to protect your account.
Look, I'm not saying just go hella strong on every trade and YOLO everything and just short your account and hold it up. If the broker takes us out, I'm out. I'm not saying that. We're all cut losses and we're all follow trade plans. I'm saying on the 1 in 100 you don't. You should have a broker intervention in place. That's it.
Well, and that's where, so I guess it's my turn, even though I think I took my turn, but anyway. So Stephen, I was about to say,
you know, I'm surprised how well you look. You look so, I don't know if I look so unhealthy or you look so healthy or what.
You do
like,
look
I'm looking
healthy
at myself
today.
and I'm like, he's 30 years
I think
old.
he's
He's
sun-kissed. He's sun-kissed.
It's called going outside. I don't
like
know how people,
guy?
Everyone comments on this. Where's your tan come from? It's from going outside.
You look like that man who's got the claws coming out of his hands from X-Men.
Anyway, well, I think, Stephen, what you thought I wasn't going to say as in response to this, I think you were going to expect me to go the Jocko route, which again, I think that should be what you aspire to. But I agree that there, especially, listen, especially if you're going to short these stocks, I think you should take a hybrid approach, which you hinted at the beginning, because ultimately I want you to be, again, here's the Jocko impersonation, that people will be like, Jocko, how do I have more discipline? He's like, have more discipline, and they're like, Jocko, how do I get up earlier? Get up earlier. Jocko, like, how do I read more books? Read more books. It's like, so
when you say it like that, do you know when you say it like that though, I get it. It makes sense. Right. When you say it that way.
Well, and listen, please, Jocko, I'm not picking on you. I'm not, but my point is he's right though. I mean, it's like, how do I read more? Well, read more. Okay. Put down your, anyway, I mean, he's always right. Jocko is always right, or anybody who thinks he's not right, he's probably dead and buried in a shallow ditch anywhere. But if you're shorting these stocks particularly, I think you should use a hybrid approach. I think you should be able, especially if you're risking real money. Okay, if you're learning and you're trading $100, you can go buck wild. But if you're at the point where you're risking like real money, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, you should have that ability and the skill set and the emotional, the EQ, the emotional quotient to get out of the trade on your own. Now, here's where I'll cave to Steven a little bit. Listen, when these stocks start skipping, when you're short some 2 million floater and it skips $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 in literally minutes. Yes, there are times, and I've been there, like you physically can't get out. Yeah, like you can't click that freaking mouse fast enough.
That's a really good point, Tim.
And I've talked about that story where, again, it wasn't BPTH, but I mean, listen, I was getting squeezed and it's like panic and I doubled down short accidentally. Cause I mean, I was trying to stop. I was trying to get out, but it happened so fast. I clicked the freaking, I hit the short instead of the buy button. I doubled down. That's when I just left, closed my, but anyway, especially on the short side, I do believe in that hybrid approach, but here's the thing. And Steven, I'll segue back to you. There are people, and we know these people well, that the only time they stop is when the broker forces them out. Now, I'll kick it back to
ridiculous.
You.
Thank you. That's ridiculous. But I mean, a lot of the things.
Well, elaborate on that though. So explain to the listener. Why is that ridiculous?
Yeah.
No, I mean it's basically like literally being a child. If you're just gonna literally be a 2-year-old child and repeatedly make the same mistake and then cry for your mom to sort the problem out, you're just being a child at the end of the day. And a lot of people are trading with broker restrictions, hitting a max loss and just saying, it's happened again. I don't know why. It's just the market's fault. It's the broker's fault.
The market
took us out. But I mean, the one thing I'll always attest to, and it's very tough, right? Because it's once you get profitable and you start making money, it's like the biggest problem that I've found, and one of the reasons why I've had a setback, it took us about 6 weeks to figure it out, is just because I was making money, that doesn't mean you should just size up. Just because you're making consistent money, whether it's a 10K a month or a 20K a month, that doesn't mean that, I've heard people use the term exponential growth. And be like, if you make 100 grand one year,
we all
500 grand the next.
Listen, I distinctly remember like my first $500 trade, and I'm like, man, $500 times 5 days a week times 20 trading days a week, and we all do that. Yeah.
but the issue is, just because you're having like a 20K or a 15K a month, which is fantastic. If you ever have one, it's a fantastic achievement, and I hope everyone gets one. It feels great. You'll probably cry when it happens. It's a dead good feeling. But the problem is that doesn't give you an automatic permission to size up, because it's like everyone has a level where it's easy-ish to cut the losses. Everyone has a level where it's not too difficult to stick to a plan. Like for me, my figures, like I can cut a $200, $300 loss. I can cut them all day, but I cannot cut a $600, $700, $800 loss. I can't. Like I just can't. And my problem was having that success and then sizing up, but then me risk hadn't caught up. I just wasn't ready for the size.
Yep. I think it's just different levels of the emotional state of neutrality, because once you start to succeed, once the trades are much bigger, you have to realize that all of your emotional intelligence thus far has developed you to this level, but now you're up leveling. So it's having a whole, it's like starting at square one all over again with the emotions.
But I mean, so for the people that look, everyone watching this probably has risk management problems. I speak to a lot of pros who have risk management problems. Like I was speaking to one yesterday who was saying, like, I'm down on a major downswing in the hole and I'm losing control. I'm like, dude, you'll not listen to anything I say, but like put broker restrictions on or size down. But even if if someone told me to size down, you physically can't do it.
Well, that's the ego. That's the ego at work. And that's what the most important piece, I think, going into trading and or up leveling in trading, you have to just constantly be conscious of, is my ego invested here to the point where I am not looking at what's reality, but looking at it, and I want it to be this way. That's the bird dogging phrase that, I talk about. Do you ever look at a bird and say that bird should be a dog? If you don't do that day to day, then you have to ask yourself, well, why are you doing it now? This trade should go the way I want it to go. It's like, well, is that reality? Or, the same thing as saying a bird should be a dog. And that's your ego, because now what's happening is you're finding success, you're getting excited, you're doing that addition like Tim talks about, 500 times 5 days a week times 20 days a month, right? And now the ego is like getting stoked and it thinks it can do this, and this. And then you bump into, not as easy as I thought.
Do you not think you should just go on a slow path where you push, you think, this is going iffy, pull back. Then you push, then it goes a bit iffy again, then you pull back. Do you not think
well, it depends on your definition of iffy. You got to look within.
How much more attached?
If iffy is your entire freaking account,
if he is giving back a week, like if he is giving back 3 days, giving back a week.
Fair.
But so I would invite you to consider doing that but in your own imagination, before you're sitting at your trading desk. Sit with yourself in a meditation or just for a few minutes and imagine where do you start to have like your stomach get sick? Where do you start to have your heart race? Where does your pulse start to kick up? Imagine what that number is. Find out what it is internally before you find out at your trading desk.
What's that number for you, Tim? I'm curious.
Like the oh shit handle type thing.
Just in a position
like in one position, like an oh shit handle, probably $5,000.
$5,000, and you're like, I do not want to fucking lose anymore.
I'm done. Yep. So
mine's about one.
Because at that point, at that point, again, that and listen, that number is going to vary for everybody, but at that point, I mean, it's wrong. It's not worth. Well, unless I made some stupid mistake like doubling down, on a short or something like that. But you're wrong. You screwed up. You're done. Okay. And then that's that like done for the day type number where it's like you're done. You're benched. Now I do that myself. Okay. I don't call mom. Mom, change my password for me, please.
Tim, when did you always have the discipline to just do it on your own, or did it kind of come about?
No.
Okay, so how long did it take you to get to that self-discipline?
Years.
Okay.
I mean, again, we're going back, 15 years now. We're going back 2006, 2007, but years and years. So yeah.
And what do you think got you finally on board to the fact that this is just my ego?
Kim, what movie reference am I about to make?
Is it Roadhouse?
No.
The Shining?
No. It's Clubber Lang in Rocky 3.
Okay.
When they ask, Mr. T, aka Clubber Lang,
Obviously.
they ask him, what's the prediction for the fight? And he looks into the camera and he says, pain.
Right.
That's it.
I do remember that quote.
Okay.
I didn't know it's Rocky 3 though. I have to watch that one.
Definitely top 5 favorite movies for me. But anyway, it just pain.
So
it was just
but how many years? 5 years? 5 years?
I would say 3, 4.
Okay.
I don't think 5. Yeah.
So Stephen, do you hear what he's saying?
Oh no, look, I can
3 or 4 years.
No, I mean, well, I'm 4 or 5 years in now, and it was only 6 months ago I was like, I don't need to use stops. I don't need broker restrictions. So I don't need them. But I can't ever imagine me trading life without them ever again for as long as I live. So you do learn.
You're using the hybrid approach too.
And I'm reading books and doing exercises as well, and doing like actual coursework from authors on risk management. I'm doing everything I can.
Well, I just want to make that point, just in case the listener was confused.
There are some absolute morons out there who stop out every day and then just push it on Twitter like it's someone else's fault. I've seen it.
Well, because they don't want to take responsibility. And that's what trading, I think it's the perfect school for forcing you to take 100% responsibility for yourself. And if you aren't in the position emotionally to take that on, because some people see it as blame or shame. I don't want to take 100% responsibility, but it's ultimately freedom to take that much responsibility. But I just want to say something to you, Stephen. I'm curious how this will land. As soon as you knew you needed to put those backups in place is the first step towards not needing them. Does that make sense?
Some pretty powerful wordage. Some pretty powerful words there. No, and I fully agree. And I think you'll get so used to them being there and not using them that you'll forget that they even existed.
Yes. And then you will not stop yourself.
Oh, but my goal is to have it and never hit it once. My goal is to never hit it once.
Beautiful.
Barring, and again, one of the things that drives me nuts is like, people use, especially on the short side of low floats, people use the term black swan so incorrectly. It's like, listen, guys, there can't be 3 black swans a week. Okay. It doesn't work that way. Okay. The whole idea between Nicholas Nassim Taleb's book was there was one black swan, which read all of this stuff, by the way.
Tim, that's the gray rhino. Michelle Wuker, who we had on the podcast, she says that so many people don't identify the gray rhino, which is right in front of your face. It's big. It's eye distance, like arm distance, and yet you're still in denial that it's there. Right. That is probably that gray rhino. And people say, oh, it's a black swan. No, that's because they don't want to take ownership that this thing is right in front of them.
And and again, Stephen, that's my point is, and you said it very well. I think it should be there, but if you're hitting it 3 times a week, you got way more work you need to do. That should be there. Again, your computer goes down, your internet goes down. Maybe you make some dumb mistake like I did. You accidentally double down, or maybe it is a true black swan, which again, where it's a dries. Okay. I mean, listen, I consider dries an actual black swan. Dries was like 6 years ago and we're still talking about it today. So that's when, and that's why I like the way you said it's there, but you're not bumping up to it 3-4 or every day.
Yeah, no. No, honestly, I mean, the way I'd approach a system for me is you're hitting a max loss is an indication of how well you're managing size and how well you're managing discipline in trading. Because once you're consistently profitable, the ultimate goal of every trader is to trade as much as size as possible to make as much money as possible. Sure. Even if it's not for the monetary value, it's to be the biggest guy in the room, right? Or girl, whatever. So for me, it's if I don't hit a max loss for an entire month and I have a decent green month, that's an indication of I can size up a little bit more, maybe 25% more. And then if I hit a couple of max losses, maybe I've sized up a bit too much and I need to come down because I shouldn't be hitting that max loss. I shouldn't be hitting it. So that's how I'm
Can I ask you a question, Stephen, and you, Tim? The fact that you just spoke to going up 25%, what is there an appropriate amount, Tim, that you do want to start to go up? Is it 25% or would it be 10%?
Ooh, good question. I mean, it's like the way I explain it is, it's that, it's your consistency and your confidence. Now, obviously confidence can get you in a lot of trouble, but whether it be the checklist that I use, I mean, to me, you should only be sizing up in quote unquote, those A+ setups. Like today, listen, I was thinking about a VWAP reclaim on SGOC, not one of my bread and butter setups, not ideal. This morning I missed it because I missed a filing. I screwed it all up. I bashed it. It was the best stock of the day. So I could tell that I had a revenge in mind. Okay. I was like, I want this thing to squeeze back to the highs. So that I'm using like quarter my normal size because it didn't.
Because you're probably going to lose.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. Thank God it didn't hit VWAP and failed. So I didn't enter. But if I had entered, I'd be using quarter size because again, and I don't want to make it sound like I got this all figured out. I mean, I screw up every day, but I think that one of the biggest things that comes with experience is you recognize when you're screwing up. I said it right in the chat. I'm like, people are like, hey, this ain't one of your setups. I'm like, I know. I'm like, it's a slow day. I'm pissed off that I missed those SGOC this morning. So I'm like, it's small size. I think if it goes, it could run to the highs, but I said it right out. I'm like, this is boredom. This is revenge. So I'm using small size.
But it was also the ticker this morning that should have gone, but it didn't. I haven't checked Twitter to see what short.
TTSS.
It wasn't a good short. That I mean, it ripped in the pre, and then its first 15 minutes it put in a decent amount of volume. Put in, and
it failed, but it failed. But at the open, man, it was like here we go.
At the open. It was volatile at the open, and it just dropped. It dropped off at 9:45. Yeah, tough one, sucks.
So
I wish I'd shorted it, but in a way I don't, because the next one will rip your head off.
Well, that's it. Tomorrow it'll be different.
No, but it will be. And there's been a couple. There's been DTSS, and there's been one more before that should have gone and didn't. I don't know if you remember it. There was one a couple of days ago as well.
Yeah. Stephen, what do you think? Do you think that when you start to size up, I could be wrong, but it sounds like you size up quickly. To me, 25% is a lot. So do you feel that's
because honestly, my problem was once I got up about 80 grand, I just stopped caring about losing money. So if I ever went down on a trade, I just throw loads more size at it, and then I kept on winning doing that because I thought, I'm up 80 grand. If I lose 10, I'm still up 70. And I keep on making 2 grand on all these trades. I throw extra size on. Gotcha. So for me, I was just trading stupid size anyway. I was like taking 30, 40K positions, which is stupid for me. But then I got used to it. So now that I'm down to 5K position, I'm weirdly still getting the same results trading with 5K size just because I just got good at the right entries again.
Wow.
But so going from 5
I think a lot of people use size
tiny.
Size is a crutch too. I mean, it's like, listen, if you're
say more.
If you're trading the right stocks, you don't need, listen, if you're taking $100,000 positions to make $2 grand, you ain't trading the right setup. And we see it all the time. Again, we see it all the time. It's like we always talk about going for the ride. You'll see people trading literally like hundreds of thousands of dollar positions to make like $5 grand. It's like, man,
the hell?
I'm like, hey, congrats on your $5 grand, bro. But
to
put it this way, though, to put it this way, and Tim, you can give your opinion long, which is probably more. For an A+ setup on the short side, like SGOC, I took 20% on yesterday.
Yep.
On a good trade, you should be able to make, on average, 12 to 16%, I would say.
Oh yeah.
And that's for me on the short side. If I hit 15, I'm like, it's a good trade. If I hit 25, it's really good trade. If I hit 10, I think 10's like a base hit.
Yeah.
But for you on the long side, what? Like,
I mean, again,
hundreds
if
of
we're
base hit
talking,
for you?
listen,
Just
if we're
100?
talking that's why I try and steer people towards, even though they're scary and they're volatile. I mean, listen, if you're trading, back to that classic low float dip and rip, if it's like some $2 stock, I mean, listen, it's not hard to make 50% in a matter of minutes, but I would say 20%. I mean, I think if there's not, now again, I know people are always like, people start seeing the numbers in their head. You're going to have losers average it out. But I mean, if you got some, again, like say some crazy low floater that's trading at $1, I mean, how many times do we see these things go to $2, $3, $4? You can't take 20 cents at some point, whether it be on a dip and rip or an afternoon VWAP holder or an after hours squeeze. I mean, it's not that hard to make those big gains. Now, the proverbial problem is if you make 20% today and you lose 50 tomorrow, well, it doesn't work.
But that's the thing as well. Just quickly, just to add to that, that's the thing. It's not like it's impressive to make 20%. You have to make 20%. You have to make 20% because you lost 3% on the 2 times you tried to get in, and you were wrong and you got shook out, and then you got in on the 3rd time, so you lost 6% on your 3% losses, and then a couple of the other ones won't work, and that'll cost you 6%. So then you've only got an 8% edge because you lost 12% on like random entries and exits that didn't work.
100%.
You need 20% for it all to work out. That's your edge, the 8%.
It's a really good point, Stephen. It's great that you broke that down. What do you feel is the answer to the question you posed at the start, just in general about for yourself? Like what do you feel is different now, just that you've noticed in the last couple of weeks?
I just got better at trading small size. With $5,000 per trade, it's very, very hard for it to get out of control. It's very hard for it to go wrong. Something goes like 30% against us, I'm down 1.5k. I'm not going to be terrified. Do you know what I mean? I'm not ringing my mom and saying I'm getting a job in advertising again. Like, I'm not doing that. Do you know what I mean? Which used to be every other day.
Yeah, and again, that's the only reason, and again, that whole, and I know we kind of debate that broker forcing you out thing, and and I know I go on and on about this thing, but it's the whole personal responsibility, and I just see so many people, in my opinion, again, and I know we're looking at a small subset, and I'm extrapolating it across many people. But again, the people that Stephen and I voice message back and forth about, it's like they're learning nothing. They're not growing. I mean, again, there's a few of these guys, they are doing the same thing 5 years, literally the same thing 5 years. And the only reason they can still do it is because they're forced out of the trade. And it's like, well, that is how are you ever going to like actually do this? All you're going to do is you're just going to be sideways for another 5 years or another 10 years. Totally. You're never going to get anywhere. Now, okay, maybe you'll make $500 this month, but it's like, well, good luck with that.
They don't. They just blow account after account after
account.
Well,
exactly.
And like, we look as day traders, we're like, oh, $500. Oh, it's $500. You know what I mean? It's $500. It's like a loss. Once you get full-time day trading, $500 isn't a massive amount of money because you win, you lose, and then it averages out. So you might look on, he's just lost another 500 today, just lost another 500. That's a crazy amount of money in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
You're not making it back. Oh, it's not just about $500. That's £400 in England. That's massive money to be losing daily. Massive.
Yep. Oh, that's, listen, if you've got an entry-level job, I mean, that's a week's paycheck,
Yep.
So,
if you're lucky. If you're lucky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. So,
but here's an exercise I took with T. Harv Eker, had this great money course, like your relationship to money. And there was this whole piece where we were supposed to take a dollar bill and we were going to go burn it at the front of the room. And I remember thinking, isn't that illegal? Isn't it illegal to burn money? So like everybody has to get this dollar and get to the front of the room. And the course is kind of like a big slap across your face. Like, you're ready to burn a dollar bill? How much respect do actually have for money. And all of us idiots who are trying to do the program, he was trying to say, even if the program's telling you to do it, you should say, no, I'm not even going to burn $1 because I have too much respect for it. But he was trying to show us, like, if you don't have respect even for $1, then how are you going to have respect for $5 million or 500,000?
Well done, Kim. Well done bringing up that story, because I learned this from another trader. But back in the early days, my max was 500, and I actually used to keep $500 like next to my keyboard.
That's so brilliant. I love that.
And I, now listen, I stole it. I can't remember who I learned it from, but it was like,
you stole the $500, Dr.
No, I didn't steal the $500.
That's what it sounded like you said.
I stole the idea.
No, I'm kidding.
I co-opted the idea.
It's a great idea. What happened for you with that $500 in front of you?
I mean, again, it helped, because it was like, again, when I would, again, this is back in the beginning, the losses are always bigger than my 500 that I plan. And I mean, again, you just kind of, it was like, it's almost like that little, devil and angel, but it's like, it's just sitting there looking at you. And I'm like, man, it's real. That's like, am I prepared to just take that and burn it? I mean, I always thought like throwing it out the window, but to tie in with your story, it's like, listen, Tim, you're down 500, now 600. Now are you going to let it go to 1,000 and just burn that $500? So I think that is, it's useful, and it really makes it real, where like you were like, burn $1, who cares? But when it came to actually do it, you're like, whoa,
That's right. That's right.
For some crazy reason, and I'll never get this, and you must be better at it now, and I'm still dealing with it. For some reason, it feels better to fight a stock in a battle that you're losing.
Man. Well, that's Kim's department right there. That's the ego, man. It's like,
why?
I added.
I'm not losing
I
this
kicked its ass, man.
I'm not losing this one. And if I don't lose, I promise I'll never do it again.
A Hail Mary at the end. Please, God, just this one time.
If you let us up with this one, I'll never do it again.
And he's like, actually, you've done this 17 times. So that's not true.
I've definitely learned this time. But like,
it's because loss is so much more painful. It's physically more painful than winning. When we experience loss, we experience it 4 times more painful than the concept of gaining something. That's why we have to be, and this is the way we're physiologically built. This is not a choice.
But you're going to lose even more if you don't cut it.
Yes, but in that moment, that loss, it's because the loss, most times, it's because that's our relationship to loss in general we haven't identified. Most people, unfortunately, consider a loss to be something they identify with their worthiness. And that's a big part of the issue.
So I like where this is headed. So I've got a question. And again, I know we won't name him, but Stephen, the guy we talk about all the time. And Kim, I'm going to ask you.
Getting messages off him.
Exactly.
Like, is that me?
So the classic Ed Sykota quote that win or lose, everyone gets what they want out of the market. Some people like to lose, so they win by losing money. So Kim, I'm going to ask for your input. But Stephen, back to that guy. I mean, does he win by losing money? By getting all the likes? By getting all the retweets, by getting all the comments and the attention. Because you know what? When he wins, nobody cares. You ever notice that? When he wins, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
No, that's trading for attention. Everyone wants something out of the market. I mean, if he wants attention, I probably want significance. I want worthiness and significance. That's what I want. He wants attention. What do you want, Tim?
I want more money. That's what I want.
You've got money. What do you want?
I want more. There's never enough.
You've got lots of stuff. I've seen you pool.
Some men have what is that where it's like some men just have what movie quoted? Just an empty hole inside. There can never be enough. There can never be. Oh, it was Doc Holliday. Yes, in Tombstone. Yeah.
No, but there's a reason for everyone though, because I could trade really small size and always do all right in the market for a long time now. I'm positive I could trade super small, grind $2,000 a month and do it for the rest of my life. I think I'm at that point, but I'll never do it. I'll keep pushing, risking, even losing everything. Why? Why do us traders have this desire to push? Because it's not the money.
But it could be a couple of things though. On one hand, that's also your need for adventure. That's also your need for challenge. That's your need to.
That's one of the reasons. Listen, that adventure, that challenge. Remember, I sold my business because I was bored. I was like, man, it's like, and again, I tell this story all the time. That I've been gone 8 years, 9 years. That business is still doing extremely well. I could still be there, cashing that check, and I was making good money, but I was bored. I'm like, I don't. At that point, I mean, I joke about more money and the insatiable hole, but it's like I wanted something that was interesting, that was challenging, because I was just cashing a check and I was freaking bored. The paycheck could probably be better today. The business has grown. It's done, continued to do well, but it wasn't, that was just freaking, it was a 9 to 5, man. It's all it was. So
it wasn't meeting your needs. And if you're not getting your needs met, then you're not going to be fully satiated and not really happy. And Stephen, I think there's two things happening for some traders. On one hand, yes, you're trying to get the need met for challenge, for adventure. However, if you're seeking the need for worthiness from a place that doesn't have the capacity to meet that, then you potentially become completely at its mercy, because your worthiness, you can't get your worthiness based on whether you succeed as a trader. You can't leave it at that kind of situation, because worthiness is not earned. You can't earn your worthiness. It's a birthright. You're worthy. And most of us think, and men especially, I have to say, are culturally taught that worthiness has to be earned.
Right.
And
screws
with us.
It's like respect has to be earned, right? You earn respect. And it's true. Like some people I'll not respect as much as others because it's like they haven't really earned it. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't have a certain attitude about something unless you've been there and done it and earned it. It's true. Like if someone gives us trading advice, but they're a losing trader, I'm like, I'm not respecting that opinion.
Well, yes.
You've not been through the trenches.
So respect.
That's an example.
You're talking about, I think right now, the concept of a trader's own self-respect, right? Like, have I earned, and I agree that level of respect is something that one has to earn, or with a teacher, but there is a certain level of respect that's a human need. You have a standard, we all do, a standard need for respect. And that's why I think it's so important, especially as you're a new trader, for any new trader, they have to say to themselves, if I have a need for respect and I'm not getting that met in my day-to-day life, if I'm trying to get that met in the market, I don't think the market can meet a lot of the needs we have. I would say it's much better to try to get your needs met outside of the market and come to the market as neutral as possible, because the costs are so much higher when you try to get your needs met in the market.
Yeah, no, what I would say is, and whenever I've done my best trading, or whenever I've been in the best zone, is when I've traded purely just because it's really fun. Like it's just dead fun. Like it's a really fun game. And when you just in it for that reason, and you're in it because it's just very fun. Can I catch this? Can I catch that? Can I trade this well? Can I trade that well? Can I be on top of my game? Can I execute well? That's when you do your best for me.
I think it's when you're neutral, people do their best. I think fun. Look, I'm not saying trading isn't fun. There was somebody on my Instagram live the other day who said, I trade better when I'm happy, I'm in a good mood. And he said, so should I always only trade when I'm happy? I'm like, no, actually, because happiness is the other side of sadness. You should be trading when you're neutral. If you're not coming into this neutral from a place of what are the patterns, then you're going to be potentially at risk in ways that are going to be costly.
So again, a question for you, Kim. I'm just curious. Back to that Ed Psychotic quote. Do you agree with that quote?
I do.
Okay. And then the reason I asked that, and we'll kind of take this home, is in your opinion, is this whole max stop loss thing just like fulfilling that for some people? Because now every day they can lose and not blow up their account. So it's like they're every day they're getting what they want.
Those who are using it in that sort of, in my opinion, dysfunctional way.
Yeah. I feel a win coming. I feel like
if they're using it in a dysfunctional way, yes, they're in a specific pattern, even if it's unconscious. And that specific pattern is, I don't have to take ownership for this. I can relay and lean in on that broker stopping me. So that continues them to be kind of, I want to use a fancy word here, infantilized, right? They get to be an infant and not have to take ownership. Exactly. And that sometimes because of the culture we come from or the household we come from, that was where we were the safest. We always had somebody, where we were like, somebody was always the authority. There was a situation last night with this fire where I heard the picture, somebody had sent somebody of their house across the street from the fire. And do you know what that person said? This other person said, they were waiting for the authority to tell them to evacuate. I was like, what? No, the fire is telling you to evacuate, but a lot of people out there, and this is something you always complain about, Tim, don't know how to be the authority of their own life. Right. They're waiting for somebody to tell them what to do, even when the evidence is right in front of them, because it's hard, because when you live that way, you're waiting, for somebody. That time at 9/11 when I was waiting for the kid in the blue van to drive out after we got evacuated from the planes on 9/11, and this poor 20-year-old boy is sitting there, and we're waiting and waiting. I said, can I ask you what you're waiting for? He said, I'm waiting for dispatch to release me. And I said, son, sometimes you have to make an executive decision. Right. And I think right now we got to get the hell out of this airport because this is not a good place to be, But that takes a lot to take that kind of responsibility.
I'll let you go, Stephen. But before I forget this, here's my daily getting us canceled. But Kim, that story reminded me of I saw somebody with a great tweet the other day for a libertarian like me, and the guy was like, "What I want is for the coronavirus to do a press conference and tell us how to protect ourselves from the government." So anyway, I'm sure if you're a libertarian, I'm sure you'll appreciate that. All of you also probably hate me for that quote, but it's like, what's more dangerous? Anyway, go ahead, Stephen.
My only comment was just thinking about it, long or short, right? And this is, you get what you want out of the market, right?
Yep.
If you're long or short, your odds of success are probably like, on average, like 50-50. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, your setup averages off, and it's you as a trader, you take the ones that are more favorable, and over a long term, you have an edge. So if your odds are 50-50, how do you max loss 9 days in a row? Like, how do you do it? Do you know what I mean? How do you max loss every day in a row if your odds are 50-50?
Well,
it's impossible unless you get out of the market what you want.
It's not impossible, but it goes back to the other quote, the insanity quote, doing the same thing. Because again, it's the same setup, and it's doing the same thing every day and expecting different results. It'd be different. Buy Apple and see what happens. I don't know. At least if you're wrong on Apple, you'll lose like $4. Or short Apple. At least it's like
do something different.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got to be. We were discussing this the other day. I would say if you went long, like every single stock, as long as it had a low, once a low was set, like a double bottom or a high low.
Well, you did stats. Didn't you have like some 70% plus stat that you sent to me?
So I'd say on average, all of the GABAs, they will all of the GABAs, especially the ones trading 10 to 15 million pre, they'll generally, the vast majority will put in highs at like 950, 10, 1030. Some will run, but a lot of them will hit a high of day, 940, 945. But the vast majority is 945. This is the point I'm making. So if you short at 930, you get stopped at 945,
and then
it drops. And then, but what I'm saying is, if you went long on every single stock at the open, if you went long every single gapper, and you sold 945, 10, 1030, you'd make a lot more money than you'd lose just getting stopped every day.
Yeah,
I would think statistically. Or if you just short it at 1030 or 10, if you just short it at 10, forget who says that you need to start at the market open? Who says that you need to start your trading day at 9:30? If bell goes at that time, that doesn't mean you have to start.
Yep. That's why it's so important to do this work on self-awareness. Like, you have to know, how do you tick? What's your relationship to money? Because if there are traders who start to win, and guess what? That freaks their unconscious out because they've never started to have that kind of money before. And you will start unconsciously finding ways to lose if you don't have that relationship to money. Because for you to go past, that's the other thing I learned from T. Harv Eker. His book is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And he says, we have a temperature set at a certain amount of money. And it's just like a heating system or an AC system kicks on when the temperature fluctuates, so does our unconscious. So if we have a ceiling for ourselves of, this is the right amount of money, and you start to go past that, you're going to potentially get yourself back to what's comfortable without even consciously knowing it. Why? Because you don't want to be thrown out of your tribe. The people you hung out with, the friends you have now, you could feel like, well, they're going to not be friends with me anymore. All of this is unconscious. If I get, too big for my britches, like if you think that about rich people now, then how the hell are you going to go past where you want to financially? Because you already have judgments about rich people, right? So all of these are things that do this work on yourself first, guys, before you come into trading. Because all the trading is going to do is put a big fat mirror in front of you around the stuff inside that you haven't been with.
I agree. I think it's a good ending too, by the way. So what do you think, Stephen?
I think I feel the power.
The power of what?
It's the force field of the words.
I tried handing the closing over to you, but as always.
Right. Why would you let me close? You close everything.
Well, fair enough. All right, everyone.
You want us to close?
All right, everyone. The most awkward ending in the history of SteadyTrade podcast. So anyway, as always, we mentioned several books, several resources, including Kim's DVD. So as always, head over to SteadyTrade.com. We'll link everything there. And again, something that, a lot of the stuff that I reference and mention, a lot of this stuff is a collection of 15, almost 20 years studying this game. But the biggest thing I want to point out, and Stephen and I talk about this a lot, trading, it's not what you can make. It's what you lose. Are you going to lose your entire account today? Are you going to stick to your stop? It's you can control. There's a lot of stuff you can't control, but you can control that stop. And if you're making excuses, and if you're blaming the black swans, or if you're blaming the algos, or if you're blaming the market makers, or you're blaming some presidential tweet or something like that, you're looking the wrong place. Okay, you need to focus on you. And again, I do agree. I didn't even know, to be honest, that a lot of these brokers even had that max stop loss, and probably about a year ago. I admit, I just didn't even know that existed. Now, keep in mind, everyone has an agenda. Okay, you might think, my friends, you might think that broker puts that in there for your protection. They don't care about you. Okay, they don't care about you. If you can, hey, Steven's told the story about not answering his broker's phone calls. Okay, they're doing that so that you don't go past your margin and then they get holding the bag. But that being said, let's keep things positive, Tim. Let's keep things positive. So I didn't even know that existed until about a year ago. But I think the biggest summation of this episode is you should have a plan, the tagline of the SteadyTrade podcast. And listen, if you're hitting that max stop loss more than once in a great while, where there's maybe a limit halt, or again, there's some, there's a filing, there's some truly black swan-y type thing, then you need to figure out what you're doing wrong. Because if you're butting up against it 9 days in a row, something ain't right. So, All right, everyone, head over to SteadyTrade.com, share with your friends. And thank you, Kim. Thank you, Steven. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the SteadyTrade podcast.